summarised as a combination of the 1996 slasher Scream and the 1993 sci-fi horror Body Snatchers. Just to give some further information, Body Snatchers is, as the title suggests, a sci-fi horror where the protagonist realises everyone around them has been taken over by emotionless clones. The protagonist is then forced to begin a struggle to avoid the same fate.
The use of the sci-fi is going to help bring a wider audience, some more adult.
This is a scene where the protagonist first realises what is happening. My other inspiration is the 1996 film Scream. This is the classic slasher film. Scream features a teenage targeting serial killer who could be anyone and will kill anyone, but seems to enjoy toying with the victims first.
The use of the slasher genre.
First murder in Scream, featuring young Drew Barrymore.
The use of the slasher genre helps me target a teenage audience.
With all the background context covered, here's my pitch. The impersonation game.
It's a working title.
A young girl sets off for a run with the hopes of meeting her friend along the way. Her running route takes her through a cemetery, but the tension builds to the point where she's on the verge of a breakdown until her friend appears. All seems well as they head off for their run. But then the camera pans down to reveal that the girl has dropped her phone. A single text flashes onto the phone's screen. A text apologising for not being able to run today. A text that has just been sent from the friend who the protagonist has supposedly just gone for a run with. Who has the protagonist gone for a run with? Who sent the text? What's going to happen next?
So, I've decided that I want to work in Ilkley Cemetery. This was a practice shot I took.
Are you going to include a violent scene, and if so, how are you going to handle it?
I'm not actually going to include a violence scene per se. I want to work with more psychological aspects, so the manipulation of light and sound and music to let the audience assume and make their own presumptions about what's going to happen, because violence is very hard to do without it being cheesy, especially on a low budget like this. So I was just going to manipulate sound and leave the audience to kind of guess what was happening.
Okay, how are you going to achieve sci-fi elements to make it convincing for a cinema?
Well, with the sci-fi elements, I don't want to reveal too much to my audience right away. In terms of the clones, not until the last scene, really, with the phone. But I had considered doing point-of-view shots, like the bit of footage I took from the park, where someone appears to be watching her. And I considered playing with the type of footage effect that was used over it, so kind of bluish, silverish lighting in terms of someone watching her, just kind of to set the audience off.
We'll also talk about the title in a bit too much of a giveaway.
Yes, the title is still very much a work in progress.
So what sort of films, you mentioned a couple of, what other films might be a reference point for you?
Well, I suppose there's Halloween.
In what way?
Well, that starts off with, I can't remember the main killer's name, but he's watching his sister and her boyfriend, and it shows the camera watching from his point of view, so I kind of like that idea.
Big part of that is use of the Steadicam. You know, okay, we've got things that are figure eight, but that's very precise. You get this unnatural, strange feeling of floating through the air.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it. Plus, There's also an extended, well, it looks like an extended single shot. There is actually quite a smart cut in the middle of that. A long takes are not going to work for you. If you had 10 minutes to work with, you could include that. So definitely it's something to look at, but parts of the media language to avoid really as well. Any more questions? I mean, one last question for me then. This will clearly pitch well a male audience. How would you make it? How would you draw in a female audience to this?
Well, I mean, I suppose my protagonist is female. It opens with the girl preparing for her run, so she's getting on her shoes and her joggers and things like that. Not entirely sure how else I could pitch it at a female audience, but both main characters on screen are female, so I guess the slasher element is kind of meant to bring in the female audience.
So it's just rather akin to the Final Girl Scream Queen?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She is meant to be, my protagonist in the opening scene is meant to be a Scream Queen type character. If I had more time and could develop the story, I would have the final girl revealed afterwards as one of her friends. So it opens, I guess, very much like Scream, with the Scream Queen dying, or dying, as the case may be. I guess the other small thing I could do to target female audiences when the girl's running, I could have her listening to diegetic music of a pop song. I guess that's more to do with semiotics and things, but...
Problematic too, because you can't use copyright music. You'd be recording your own version.
That's
Yeah.
that's problematic.
I mean, if you can get a good one, the soundtrack song for Coursework from last year was actually reasonably convincing. And that was just Molly singing,
Right.
and they got an A2 student to record music. It was actually quite effective. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
I have been thinking about music. I'm not exactly sure what style I want to use yet, but I planned on asking my dad to compose some because he's a music teacher. And I guess I had thought about actually the pop song and things like that. And now that you said that it would be copyright issue, I'll start thinking about ideas on how to include that without, like,
Yeah, it's just basically you can't use the existing versions, but you can create your own.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate for all of you, so you can, you don't have to compose the music that's being used, but you must evidence you're directing the process, and you're given very clear, firm instruction as to what it is you require. You don't have to compose the music yourself.